What's up, guys? It's Troy Sturko from the Action Network, and it's finally time for some October baseball. The playoffs are here. I broke down the National League. Now it's time to break down the American League and why each team here can make a run and lift the World Series trophy at month's end. So let's look at the World Series favorites on the American League side, and that's the Houston Astros at plus 380. If you want to talk about the easiest path to the World Series, look no further than Houston. Justin Verlander has aged like fine wine and is going to take home his third Cy Young of his career. And behind him, Framber Valdez, Lance McCullers, and Christian Javier round out the core four of starting pitching. There's not really a weak point there or on this team in general. The offense is led by Yordan Alvarez, who finished the season with a 306 average and a 1.019 OPS. Jose Altuve continues to start in the leadoff spot, and Alex Bregman has surged in the second half of this season. This lineup is as good as anybody, and they made the necessary adjustments at the trade deadline, acquiring Trey Mancini and Christian Vasquez to shore up some of the holes in the batting order. Not to mention that this is the number one bullpen in terms of xFIP. You bet the Astros if you want to see a revenge tour. This is a team that's arguably better than last season, where they lost in the World Series to the Atlanta Braves, and they're going to be hungry for another World Series win this season. I like them here. They're going to be the best team in the American League and are the most complete team by far. Do you like home runs? Well, if you do, then the New York Yankees are your team at plus 550. The Bronx Bombers have hit 11 more home runs than the next best team, and they're led by new Yankee home run king Aaron Judge. This is as interesting a team as any. Giancarlo Stanton and Anthony Rizzo have both eclipsed the 30 home run mark, but also have averages below 225. Gleyber Torres has played well in the second half of the season, but Josh Donaldson has been rather ineffective. Still, this is a team that can put a 10 spot up any night on offense. Pitching wise, the Yankees also have a dominant 1-2 punch behind Garrett Cole and Nestor Cortez, but Frankie Montas is likely out with injury, leaving the pitching duties to Jameson Taillon and Luis Severino, who has only made one start since returning from injury at the end of the season. You bet the Yankees if you think home runs are going to reign supreme in October. Aaron Judge should revert back to his old self now that the pressure of breaking the home run record is out of the way. But maybe the teams don't pitch to him and force the rest of the Yankees offense to do some damage. And if they do, the Yankees are a viable option at plus 550. If you want a team filled with youth that could put up video game numbers at the plate, look at Toronto at 16-1. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is the obvious star of this lineup, but this is a Toronto team that boasts 5 starters with a WRC plus of 129 or higher. For reference, 100 is about league average, so they have 5 guys above that 129 mark, which is incredible. Alejandro has broken out this season to the tune of an all-star appearance, a 289 average, and a higher walk rate than strikeout rate, which is very impressive. Matt Chapman, 27 home runs. George Springer dominating the leadoff spot. The list just goes on and on with this offense. But the real question is the starting pitching. Kevin Gausman and Alek Manoah are a dominant 1-2 punch, and in a wildcard series, Toronto has the edge against most teams. But the question is whether Jose Barrios shows up to his former self or the Jose Barrios we've seen this year where he's gotten shelled, and what Ross Stripling we get. He's been great this season, but does he revert back to his old ways? Where does Toronto go? That's their 3 and 4 starters. So if they get consistency out of them, and with the offense they have, they can beat any team, especially Houston, in the second round. The bullpen has quietly also slipped under the radar and are very solid. Toronto made the trade deadline acquisitions of Anthony Bass and Zach Pop from Miami, and they shored up that back end, especially with Jordan Romano being Mr. Consistent. They have plenty of arms to get it done in the playoffs. If you think Toronto has what it takes to make a deep run, they'll be a fun team to watch as young stars will dazzle, and at 16-1, you can't really find a better price. Analytics are the name of the game for this team, and yes, you guessed it, it's the Tampa Bay Rays and manager Kevin Cash at 20-1. The Rays are a live team, in my opinion, to pull off multiple upsets, especially against the Guardians and maybe against AL East foe New York Yankees. Their offense is about league average, and they'll rely on the likes of Randy Arozarena, Wander Franco, and the breakout year of Yandy Diaz to get the job done. But if their offense clicks, this is a pitching staff that's as good as anybody, led by Shane McClanahan, who is a star and a Cy Young candidate throughout the entire season. And Tyler Glasnow returns from injury. While he won't start most likely, he'll be pitching in relief multiple innings. You know how tactful Kevin Cash is. He's going to get the most out of his star players, and Glasnow surely is one of them. The Rays starting pitching ranks 6th in xFIP, and while their bullpen is about league average, Pete Fairbanks has been an elite closer in the back end in limited time. This is a well-rested pen entering October that will be used thoroughly. The Rays always seem to find a win anyway in the postseason, so at 20-1, you can't really go wrong here if you think they can upset the New York Yankees. This is one of the most interesting teams in baseball. The Cleveland Guardians at 30-1 despite a 92-win season and beating up on the AL Central all year long. This is the team to bet on if you love peskiness and a dominant bullpen. The Guardians offense are about league average with a 98 WRC plus. Remember, about 100 is that league average mark. But they only strike out 18.3% of the time. That's a whole percentage point better than the next best team. This is a team that you have to beat through pitching to soft contact, inducing that soft contact, and pinpoint accuracy, because they will make you pay if you leave something over the plate. They don't walk, they don't strike out. It's an annoying team, a pest of a team, if you will, and they always seem to find a way to win late. That's because of their dominant bullpen led by Emmanuel Clase, who has 42 saves and a 136 ERA. Their starting pitching is a very interesting. They're about league average, with Shane Bieber leading the way, and the breakout year of Tristan McKenzie in the number 2 spot should provide an added boost. The rotation has its quirks, but these will be close games throughout, and in that case, the Guardians may have the edge because of their dominant bullpen that is second in xFIP. So if you think that these at-bats and the peskiness of the Guardians, and they'll rise up the pitch count of the opposition and lead to a bullpen game or multiple bullpen games, over time, that will lead to fatigue and give the Guardians the edge. So at 30-1, that's a long shot play option for you. And last but not least, you have the Mariners, a fan favorite once again. For the first time since 2001, they have made the postseason after a 14-game win streak in July and surging well into the next couple months. They're the underdog of the American League at 30-1 and have arguably the most difficult path to the World Series, having to go through Toronto, Houston, and then most likely the New York Yankees. But this is a Mariners team with a dominant bullpen and a solid offense. Julio Rodriguez has thrived in the spotlight in his rookie season and is a member of the 25-25 club. He gears up for his first postseason, as many of these Mariners are. It's a ragtag offense that always seems to be in it late. They play great fundamental baseball and have a top 10 bullpen in terms of xFIP this year, led by Paul Sewald, Diego Castillo, Andres Munoz, and Eric Swanson. But starting pitching is the biggest question mark for this team. Luis Castillo was brought in at the trade deadline and is an ace, but after him is where the questions really start to build up. You have Robbie Ray and Logan Gilbert, both have up and downs. They are very inconsistent at times, but if they find a groove, especially here in the playoffs, they have all the makings of a deep playoff team. The problem is they have a gauntlet of a schedule to get there. So if you want to root for an underdog, a Cinderella team, Seattle's your squad. I'm not sure they're going to be able to pull off an upset of Toronto, Houston, and then New York. But if you love them, and most of America does, ride with them at 30-1. That's going to be it for me as far as the American League and why every team can win the World Series and make a run in the postseason. Let me know in the comments which team you think comes out of the American League. I personally believe the Astros are the right bet to make here. But there's always a good underdog story. You never know with the likes of Toronto, who have a great offense. Be sure to look out for the National League video where I break down every team on that side and why they could make a run at the World Series title as well. And be sure to subscribe to the Action Network YouTube for more baseball content throughout the entire month of October. See you later.